What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I posted a video and it's been a while since we talked about Tonal. It got delivered in July and I'm gonna cut straight to the chase. I have absolutely loved it. It has been an amazing machine. I am so glad I got it. And other than a few drawbacks here and there, I definitely encourage everybody who can get one to get one. Obviously it's an expensive piece of equipment, so for those that can afford it, I definitely would recommend it. So I did say that there are a few drawbacks and I do want to touch on that today and then also show you kind of what I like. So I figured I'd do the top 5 things that I really like and then top 5 things that I dislike. So let's dive on in because I've got a lot to show you. All right, so let's start with the top 5 things that I really like. First of all, the technology for its first iteration is incredible. I mean, the fact that this is the first unit, not only is the hardware impressive, but the technology and the software that's behind it is really impressive as well. The screen is super responsive. The weight is really impressive. The digital weight is far heavier than I thought it would be compared to regular weight. And the workouts really do make you sweat. I mean, it's been awesome. So I think from a number 1 standpoint, the technology by far has been incredibly impressive. So number 2, I would actually put in a broad category, and that is just equipment. We've already touched on kind of the hardware and how impressive that is, but also the accessories that come with it. So it comes with handles that are actually smart handles. They have Bluetooth buttons on the sides, and then the other equipment that comes with it as well has Bluetooth functionality that allows you to turn on and off the weight. So you almost have your own spotter, which comes in handy, especially when you're doing some of the heavier lifts. What I also really like about the equipment is they use T-locks instead of traditional carabiners that you find at a gym. And it just makes for putting on and taking off equipment really fast. You just take it off and then you use the T-lock to then put it on and you're done. And like I mentioned, what's really cool is the buttons that are Bluetooth allow you to turn on and off the weight when you're ready to work out. So that is probably my number 2 top thing that I like. So let's talk number 3. Surprisingly, it's actually how quiet it is. It is very quiet, it's very smooth. When you move and adjust the arms, they pretty much glide. And then the actual weight movement itself is very quiet compared to a traditional weight stack or just free weights that you find in a gym that people always drop. So if you have a lot of roommates or you have house guests or whatever the case may be, the fact that the machine is so quiet is really helpful, especially if you're also doing early morning or late night workouts. Okay, my number 4 is probably something that not a lot of people touch on. A lot of people tend to do the tonal programming, and while that's been great and I've really enjoyed it, more on that in a second, I actually really like the free workouts, and they're not free. You still have to pay for this screen that you see, but it's free lifting or custom lifting as you'd call it, and it allows you to basically go to all movements on the screen here, and once it loads, you can basically scroll through all these different options and workouts to basically create and customize your own workout for the day. And I've really enjoyed that. I've been doing so many custom workouts and it's actually been more fun for me doing that than doing the actual tonal programming. Okay, and lastly, it's kind of in relation to number 1, but it's the software overall. I've been really impressed with the software, but also the tracking and the stats that come with it. It tracks so many different stats about your body and all the different workouts that you do to make sure that you're consistently progressing beyond your goals. What's also really cool is it has kind of video tutorials to kind of show you how to do the workouts if you've never done them before. And that comes in handy, especially with people who've never really used a cable machine like this or aren't used to working out using cables, who maybe have only used free weights in the past or different various exercises. Having these videos to show you, especially when you're doing a custom workout, really comes in handy. And what's cool too about the software is you can create a block where you can add multiple workouts to one block, so that they cycle through and you basically get a full workout rather than having to go back to the home screen. So it's just little features like that that make the software super cool, and I've really enjoyed working out and just the fluidity that comes with that. It's just been great. So those are the top 5 I think right now. I'm sure that will evolve in the future as I learn more about the machine. Again, I've only had it for 2 months, so I learn something new every day and they're always coming out with new updates. On that note though, let's dive into the top 5 things that I dislike about the machine and why you might want to look at some of the competitors. Okay, so coming in at number 5 would be probably the programming. Look, I do like Tonal's programming and I really like how they're kind of going off into these different areas of focus and training, and it's been really great. They bring on new trainers all the time. With that said, a lot of the trainers, and I'm not trying to put them down or anything, they're just a little cheesy, and for me, it's a little tough to work out sometimes watching it. I would show you, but I don't know if it falls under copyright violation or not. But I'm sure if you Googled like cheesy tonal trainers, some would probably pop up that you could look at. Some of the programming is really, really good, but some of it definitely, I don't know, it just, not that it rubs me the wrong way, but it's kind of hard to work out and take it seriously sometimes. And that's kind of what has led me to do a lot more of the customized workouts on my own. I used to go to the gym by myself or with friends. So, I already came from a working out background to a degree. And I think for me, it's just better to work out using the custom method so far. Number 4 for things that I dislike is when you are doing an exercise that requires you to switch arms. So sometimes maybe it'd be like, a tricep extension where you're just doing it on one arm and then you want to switch over to the other arm. Sometimes the machine doesn't actually recognize when you're switching arms. And so what it'll do is it'll start counting your reps, right? And you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's supposed to switch after 10. But instead of switching after 10 to count the next arm, it actually just keeps going. And I found that that's because I'm not giving it enough of a break in between. But I still think, given the price of the machine and how brilliant the machine actually is, it should be able to tell when you're switching arms, especially if you're trying to do a fast-paced workout where if you're consistently moving, it should know when you're making the switch. Okay, number 3. I don't know if it's just my unit. I have reached out to Tonal, I'm waiting to hear back, but for whatever reason, the 2 arms when they're working out, the cables sound a little bit different. The left one sounds normal, it's very smooth and quiet. The right one, it almost sounds like something's rubbing, and I've looked all through the machine. I can't find anything wrong with it. I can't find any spot that's rubbing or the cable is fraying. So I think that's just part of the machine, and I've read online that other people have had similar issues. So I think, not that it hinders your ability to work out or changes anything about your workout, it's just more of a little bit of a nuisance and something that, it's almost like, is the machine gonna break? Is it okay? I'm sure it's fine, but I just wish that they would figure out what is causing that issue on the right arm. Okay, number 2. So when you go in and you do a workout, let's just say that you start this movement. When you turn on the weight, it's on right now, right? But if I turn it off and I go to this little spotter, you can see how the spotter's turned on. It might be a little hard to see on the screen. I'll try and get a close-up for you. But basically what Tonal has prided itself on is being able to spot you, right? So if you're struggling, the machine will recognize it and lighten the weight. And in a lot of situations it does. It actually does lighten the weight or reduces the weight. It realizes when you're struggling. I've kind of come to realize that when you're benching, for whatever reason, it doesn't always recognize it. And I feel like that's the one time that it really should, when you have a bar that's pressing against your chest. Even though it's only 200 pounds of digital weight, it actually feels like quite a bit more. And I think it's with the cables kind of being, a little bit of a different motion than as if you were actually bench pressing in the gym. It just, sometimes I feel like the machine should recognize when you're starting to really get tired, and maybe not lighten the weight, but just be ready to turn it off if for whatever reason something went wrong. It's also really hard to click. All right, let me grab the bar for an example. It's also really hard to click the little Bluetooth button sometimes when you're working out, because if you're really gripping the bar and you're doing your press, sometimes you need your thumb to stabilize it just because of the way that the wires are pulling on it. So if you can't actually move your thumb, or if this thing turns around and you can't reach it, you're struggling with the weight and you can't actually turn it off, that's when the machine should really kick in and realizing, like, hey, you know what, I should probably turn the weight off or lower it so that nobody gets hurt here. So that's another drawback. I think it'll probably be fixed in a future software update, but I don't think the spotter mode is quite there yet, and I think they need to improve it. Okay, and number 1 biggest thing that I hate about the Tonal is by far the price. I mean, the fact that the machine costs so much, which if you haven't seen yet, I did make a video about it and I'll post the link up above, whichever side it comes on. Definitely watch that video because I break it down in, bit by bit, what exactly goes into the cost of owning this machine. But I think, it's one thing to pay so much for the machine itself. I mean, there's, expensive cameras out there, there's expensive laptops, etc. But once you own those pieces of equipment, you don't have to pay a recurring monthly fee. And for me, who, I don't really use the Tonal programs as much as other people, I find it a little ridiculous that I have to pay $55 a month just to continue using the machine after I've spent so much money to buy it up front. I mean, I think that there should be like tiers where maybe, you know, if you only use custom workouts and you don't use the Tonal programs, maybe it's like 20 bucks a month. And then if you use, you know, a hybrid of the two, then it's, you know, 30 or 40 bucks a month. And then, you know, if there's special classes or group-led classes that are live, because there is a camera built in, they haven't actually activated it yet. I think it's in beta testing right now. But something like that where, you know, you could pay more if you really wanted to get all of that extra programming. Because I think for a lot of people, at least people like me, you know, who are used to going to the gym, we don't necessarily need all the instructor-led, you know, stuff. It's great to have, but there's a difference of spending $55 a month versus like $20 a month or something like that. I would definitely do just the free lift and pay only 20 bucks a month, or hopefully nothing for paying so much for the machine itself, then pay extra for the Tonal classes. So that's the top 5 kind of annoyances that I've found so far. Again, they're kind of evolving, and I'm sure Tonal will come out with some fixes in the future. I really do hope they adjust their pricing strategy. I think, one, it locks a lot of people out of owning this awesome piece of equipment, but it also is just a little bit elevated for what I think you should be paying a month. I hope you guys liked it. I'm gonna come out with a few more of these videos as I learn and experience the machine more and more. I have not been to the gym since buying the machine, and I've really enjoyed it. So we'll see if that continues. And I have been mixing it with the Peloton, and workouts have been great. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to check out our channel and see some of the other videos we've done on fitness gear and the Tonal itself. And I'll be sure to post some more in the future. So please consider subscribing and following along if you'd like to see more. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.